I climbed up to the company rooftop in the middle of the night and was discovered by the beautiful CEO. She thought I was upset and cried, begging me, "As long as you don't jump off the building, I will agree to any request you make." I replied, "I need a wife. Will the company send one?" She ruthlessly looked through her friend circle and said, "I'll be your matchmaker. You can pick any of these girlfriends." Unexpectedly, after the nth failed blind date with her best friend, she sat across from me and said with a pout, "Since you don't like so many girls, I guess I'll just have to suffer. I'll be your wife. You're really lucky. It's almost the spring festival, and the company has issued a holiday notice. Who in their right mind would go to work on New Year's Eve? Am I supposed to expect my dog to cook me a New Year's Eve dinner? Or maybe we'll make dumplings together in the office while working overtime at night?" The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. My mom kept sending me messages, scolding me for not being married yet. They came one after another, and my phone wouldn't stop ringing. I had to go up to the rooftop to calm down. Just as I reached the top, another message came in, but this time, it wasn't from my mom. It was from my manager. The company had invited everyone to afternoon tea, and the manager asked me to pay in advance. I sent him the payment record. This guy actually reimbursed me that evening. I was about to accept the transfer, but when I saw the amount, I froze. I clearly spent $613, and he only transferred $600. In that moment, boundless rage surged inside me. I immediately called him and yelled, "Are you blind? What, is the company going bankrupt tomorrow? $613 and you only transferred $600. Don't you have the other $13? Then why do you always act so damn smart?" He tried to explain, but I cut him off and said, "Shut up. If your mouth's useless, donate it to someone who actually needs one." The rooftop wind was blowing hard, and this guy had the nerve to disturb me. I shouted, "I'm going to jump, and my blood will splatter all over the pavement in front of the company. Every damn dog walking by will piss and curse at this godforsaken place." The wind howled in my ears, drowning out some of my rant. I wasn't sure how much the manager even hard-ended the call anyway. I stood at the edge, gripping the railing. I guess someone else had been there earlier. There were a few cigarette butts and an empty coffee can on the ground. I was so furious I kicked the can. Bang! It didn't hit the door, but somehow the door swung open and hit a woman right in the head. The moment I saw who it was, I panicked and ducked to the side. Seeing this, she shouted, "Don't jump. We can talk it out." She looked pissed at first, but then went pale. She clasped her hands together and pleaded, "Please don't jump. We can work through this. I'll make it right for you." And this woman really could make it right because she's our CEO, Emily Watson. I had only seen her once before at the company's annual meeting. She was young, stunning even, but seriously, who would dare harbor dirty thoughts about a heartless boss like her? She said, "Don't overthink it." Emily Watson was so flustered she looked like she might start jumping up and down, but didn't dare come closer. I leaned back on the railing, about to move, but then I saw a group of people following behind her. Shit. If this gets out, I'll never live it down. I quickly said, "There are too many people. I have social anxiety." Emily snapped, "You guys, get out of here." She waved them off, and I moved in a few steps. Honestly, I'm afraid of heights, but backing down now would be too humiliating. When you're cornered, go nuts first. I shouted, "Why the hell are we working on New Year's Eve? I'm going to report all of you and have the whole company arrested." She replied, "This just isn't the right time. Don't jump, please." Seeing that I was about to move again, she suddenly dropped to her knees with a thud. Everything fell silent except the wind. I looked down at her, into her eyes, and said, "Fine, stand up first. I don't have a red envelope for you." Emily was speechless. After a brief pause, she bit her lip and said, "No. If you don't come down, I'll kneel here until I die." Jesus, this woman's unhinged. In the end, we both compromised. She stood up, and I got down. She asked, "Why are you so upset?" "Your salary's coming next week." Her words hit a nerve. I instantly backed up to the railing again. She knelt down again like we had both developed a reflex. She looked at me with watery eyes and said, almost whining, "What's wrong with you? At least feel bad for my knees." I snapped back, "Then feel bad for us employees and look at yourself for once. Has the company even turned a profit under your leadership? When's the last time we got a raise? Last month when I saw my paycheck, I didn't even realize it was a salary. I thought it was a refund from some online purchase." The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. I backed up again. Emily looked like she was about to cry. She begged, "Please don't die. Everyone knows I came up here. If something happens to you, I'll be the first suspect. You can ask for anything, just don't jump. I'll agree to whatever you want." I said, "I want a raise." She nodded, "Okay, okay." I added, "Tell the manager to give me my full $613 back." She agreed, "Okay, okay." Then I said, "I can't find a girlfriend." She offered, "Can I be your matchmaker?" Then, Emily pulled out her phone and started scrolling. "What kind do you like? Come choose for yourself," she said cheerfully. Damn, she was being really helpful. Could she secretly be a professional matchmaker? I got up and walked over. Unexpectedly, she opened her friend's circle. Damn, the first photo was of a tall car model leaning against a luxury car. The next was a seductive beauty sipping red wine by a floor-to-ceiling window. Emily looked at me, winked, and said, "My best friends are all gorgeous. Can you tell me which one you like?" she asked. I blinked. Really? I glanced at the woman with the graceful figure in the third profile picture and practically drooled. Emily looked at me, smirked, and said, "You like this one, huh? You've got good taste. She's a well-bred lady from a prestigious family, and she's a teacher too. Her parents are both in government. We all call her the little princess of Shandong." I stared at the curvy beauty in the photo and nodded like a fool. Emily, being the action-taker she is, brought her in the very next day. I'd stayed up all night rehearsing my introduction, but before I could even open my mouth, she asked, "Have you passed the civil service exam and secured a stable job?" I was speechless. No wonder she's the little princess of Shandong. Of course, that blind date flopped hard. Furious, I threw the flowers down in front of Emily and snapped, "If you just turn the company into a state-owned enterprise, wouldn't I automatically have a job?" Emily had no comeback. Okay, I'll find you someone else," she said. She apologized and made a call. "This next one's a girl from Northeast China. Sweet face, great personality, no drama. Real caring type. Marry her and you'll live like a king." She showed up at noon. Nice girl, but loud, like, really loud. She had sultry eyes and a booming voice, shouting, "Bro, let's be together. When I start making money, I'll buy you a four-wheeler." Emily watched us from nearby, cheering me on with her eyes. But before I could finish 2 bites of lunch, this girl insisted on drinking. She raised her glass and declared, "I'll drink this for you." The wine in the glass, the love in the wine, each glass speaks from the heart. Then she slammed glass after glass, and I followed like an idiot. I ended up so drunk I couldn't see straight. When I couldn't go on, she looked at me in disgust and said, "You're already out after a few drinks? Go sit with the kids. I'm done." Another blind date down the drain. I barely had time to get mad before Emily said, "No worries. I've got someone else lined up." Day 3, I met the eldest daughter of the Shanghai Circle and the heiress of the Zhejiang crowd. One complained I wasn't a local, the other said she'd lived abroad too long and couldn't adjust. That night, there was supposed to be a date with a lady from Fujian, but it got cancelled last minute because Mazui's, the sea goddess, said we weren't meant to be. Day 4, Emily proudly announced she'd found 13 women from Jiangsu. They were called the 13 Jiangsu Beauties. Before I could even say hi, they started airing each other's dirty laundry and arguing on the spot. That night, a girl from Yunnan stood me up too. Apparently, she was hospitalized from food poisoning after eating giant Shaoqing. Day 5, Emily arranged a date with a lady from Jiangxi. Things were going smoothly until some dude barged in and shouted he was willing to take out a loan to cover the $8.88 million bride price. The two of them kissed right in front of me. I sat there watching, glowing with enlightenment. I'd been through so much by then that nothing surprised me. In fact, I felt a weird sense of peace. Turns out, they'd had an on and off thing, and thanks to our blind date, they finally realized they loved each other. To thank me for being a witness, the girl from Jiangxi gave me a quilt. Emily then said she'd introduce me to another lady in 2 days. I asked, "Why do you have so many women in your contacts?" She tilted her chin proudly, like a hen that just laid an egg. "Because we all have similar backgrounds, obviously." "So Emily Watson was one of them too?" She snorted. "All my besties are quality women. I guarantee I can match you with the right one. You're lucky to have a boss like me." She was so smug I couldn't take it. I snapped, "The Qing dynasty's been over for a long time. Why are there still so many young masters, ladies, princesses, and noble sons running around?" "Seriously?" Then I sent her a copy of Rawls' Theory of Justice. I said, "Read more books. Back then, women had to bind their feet, now you're out here binding your brains." After all those failed dates, I returned to the office. Ever since that rooftop incident, the company updated the holiday notice. I could go home early and didn't have to spend New Year's Eve making dumplings in the office. Fantastic news. My dog can't make a decent meal. Our reunion dinner still depended on me. But getting that early break meant I had to wrap things up fast. I worked so hard I got dizzy. The manager, still bitter about the $1,300 incident, decided to mess with me and said, "These reports must be done today. If you don't finish, don't even think about clocking out." The guy had it out for me. I didn't know until later when I called him during the rooftop meltdown, he was actually in a meeting. Seeing my name on the screen, he thought it was work-related, so he put me on speaker to show off. Who knew I'd be threatening to jump? When Emily heard about it, she exploded and stormed into the office with a rescue squad. Now, back at the office, the manager droned on, "All reports must be printed. Oh, and don't forget this," he kept rambling. I clenched my fists and thought, forget it. It's New Year's. Let it go. As the saying goes, take a step back and the sky opens up, endure for a moment and the storm passes. But I couldn't endure anymore. I slammed the desk and stood up with a bang. The manager jumped. "Are you insane?" he shouted. But I'd stood too fast. I hadn't eaten breakfast, and boom, hypoglycemia. I collapsed on the spot. The whole office gasped. Just then, Emily Watson walked into the department, and above her head, I swear I saw a woman waving at me. Wow, it looked like my grandma. Emily Watson looked around and asked, "Why is it so quiet? Are you guys?" The next second, she screamed, "Ah! Is he dead?" When I opened my eyes again, I found a group of people standing around me. Emily burst into tears and laughed at the same time, practically yelling, "James Parker, you finally woke up. I thought you were going to die suddenly." If an employee dropped dead before New Year's, I can't even imagine how far the company stock would fall if word got out. As she spoke, she helped me to my feet and dragged me to the manager. Her face darkened. "Why did James Parker faint?" The manager started sweating bullets and stammered, "Don't know either." Emily looked at him coldly. "He was fine before work, and now he faints out of nowhere. If I came a few minutes later, would he be dead? Then where am I supposed to find another employee willing to work like a slave for $3,500 a month? Damn. Chill, lady." I was drenched in sweat just listening. The manager bowed and apologized non-stop. That afternoon, he received a dismissal letter. I watched him pack up his stuff with a stunned expression, hadn't even processed what was happening yet. After all, firing a manager-level employee isn't easy. You usually have to pay him at least 2N. Word spread fast. Soon, my coworkers came to check on me. Someone leaned over and whispered, "Hey brother James, what's your relationship with the boss?" I shrugged. "It's just a regular superior-subordinate thing." "Well, technically she's also my matchmaker. And a very hands-on one at that. She even texted me about several potential dates, come to my office and pick one. I'll make arrangements." So yeah, I secretly snuck into her office to pick from her roster of beauties. Not gonna lie, this is probably peak white-collar privilege. I asked her later, "Boss Emily, did you really fire the manager because of me?" She kept signing documents without even looking up. "Yes." "What, should I have kept him through the new year?" I chuckled and probed a little, "Is it because of me? Is our relationship maybe a little ambiguous?" She finally looked up, narrowed her eyes, and scoffed, "What the hell are you talking about?" Then she explained, "Last month, we discovered that some middle managers were secretly taking kickbacks from clients. That's a major violation. He was one of them. It just happened to be a good time to make an example out of him." I let out a sigh of relief. Based on my years of reading web novels, getting involved with a female boss is asking for trouble. You'll end up her pack mule and probably lose your paycheck along the way. Emily gave me 3 more profile top-tier beauties. I stared at the photos, swallowed hard, and asked, "So, can I have all 3? Adults don't make childish choices." She looked up, hesitated for a second, then tilted her head and said, "Fine. I have a banquet tonight. Come with me. I'll arrange it for you." I blinked. "Wait, if I go with you, I want overtime pay." Click. Her pen jabbed right through the paper. She forced a smile and said through clenched teeth, "Sure." That night, we went to the banquet together. The place was crawling with elites and socialites. I looked down at my cheap suit and thought, even if I told people I was a waiter, no one would question it. I whispered to Emily, "Maybe I should go change. It's a blind date, after all. First impressions matter." She rolled her eyes and said, "Looks don't matter. Women care about who you are inside." Got it? I was speechless. But all that became irrelevant when none of the 3 blind dates showed up. One had a mysterious fever and was flown abroad by her parents overnight. Another was hit in the head by a flying slipper while eating watermelon by the roadside and ask. Apparently, she was sitting in a convertible sports car and forgot to put the top up. Rookie mistake. I watched as all 3 vanished from my romantic future inside. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Emily also exhaling deeply. Was she disappointed for me? I said, "President Emily, since the blind dates didn't work out, I'll just head home." She grabbed my sleeve. "No. I already paid you overtime. You're staying with me." The sting of romantic rejection was quickly replaced by the pain of unpaid labor. As the party went on, people started clinking glasses and making toasts. I thought Emily had invited me to help her handle the social drinking, but strangely, no one approached us. I leaned in and asked, "Is it because people know you don't drink?" She slowly raised her finger and waved it. "Nope. I can drink a lot." I frowned. "But don't you have stomach problems or something?" That's usually a default setting for beautiful CEOs in novels. She snorted, "Thanks for the concern, but I'm fine. I do annual physicals. If anything's wrong, I just get treatment. I'm not short on cash, you know." That actually made sense. Why do novel heroines always suffer from chronic stomach problems but never treat them? Eventually, I got bored and slipped away to the bathroom, where I locked myself in a stall and started playing games on my phone. Halfway through a match, I overheard some people chatting outside. One guy laughed, "I just saw Emily Watson at the banquet. She's gorgeous." But who was that guy with her? Another answered, what? They came together. I thought it was some clueless waiter. I was about to complain. I suddenly felt like an arrow had pierced my knee. Then someone asked, could he be her boyfriend? But I've never heard she was dating anyone. Another chimed in, boyfriend? No way. He's clearly not qualified. He looked so out of place. He even asked if the steak was well done and had someone pour his wine for him. He's definitely low tier. No way Emily Watson's dating that. Then someone muttered, though I did hear that Michael Carter's been chasing her for a while, totally head over heels. Didn't they have dinner together recently? The other guy replied, who knows? Maybe. But I'm not even sure Emily Watson likes men. My legs were completely numb from squatting. I shifted my posture slightly, and just then, I heard some explosive words that felt like a tiny hook scratching my heart. I immediately pressed my ear closer to eavesdrop. One guy laughed and said, I heard Emily Watson was looking for a woman before. Maybe she's, into girls. That's a huge bombshell. A big melon indeed, one way too juicy for a small employee like me to digest. Sadly, they stopped talking after just a few words. I walked out of the bathroom and found Emily Watson standing by the door, arms crossed. She looked annoyed. I thought you fell in and was about to send someone in to fish you out. I didn't say anything, just glanced sideways at her. Tonight, she looked more exquisite than usual, probably because of the banquet. Her hairstyle was carefully styled, her jewelry sparkled under the lights, and her whole aura screamed refined elegance and old money class. A real noble lady. It's a shame, thought a woman this beautiful possibly being into women. I sighed internally and looked away. A few days before the holiday, Emily set me up on another blind date. But this one, she trailed off, her face conflicted. My brain went into overdrive. Was she ugly? A green tea type? Couldn't be a fairy, right? Was she obsessed with boxing? How much would this one cost me? Emily finally said, she's a bit of a germaphobe. She's traveling right now and staying at my place. I asked her if she wanted to go on a blind date and, surprisingly, she agreed. Maybe her family's pressuring her to get married too. Just as Emily finished speaking, a slender figure walked through the restaurant door. Her features were sharp and beautiful, her smile distant and cold. If I had to describe her in one word, it'd be, perfect. She said, hello, my name is Sophia Bennett. She sat across from me. Emily left early but not before shooting Sophia several suspicious glances. Sophia said she was from Hong Kong and her family ran a foreign trade business. She was here both for travel and to scout opportunities. I smiled and asked, did you agree to this blind date just because you're staying at Emily Watson's place and couldn't say no? Sophia stirred her coffee, looked at me meaningfully, and replied, not at all. Emily and I are close. If I have to say something, well. My family's been urging me to get married too. So I'm just exploring. Ah, another soul tormented by parental pressure. Even someone this impressive wasn't spared. Suddenly, my own family's nagging felt trivial. After chatting a while, I asked if she wanted to catch a movie. Not only did she agree, she started listing off recent releases. As I stood up, I noticed Emily not far away, watching me with an odd expression. Come to think of it, she'd been around during most of my failed blind dates, but since none of them lasted longer than a few minutes, I never noticed. Her expression was unsettling. She sat in the shadows like a statue, eyes glued to us, dark and unreadable. I couldn't make sense of it before Sophia tugged my sleeve to go. We went to the movie, had dinner, exchanged numbers, and spent the weekend together on multiple dates. On Monday morning, my supervisor mysteriously called me into his office and asked me to deliver a document. The manager's gone. I was supposed to give this to Emily, but I think you're more suitable, he said. I asked, why me? He smirked and said, come on, brother. I know everything. The company doesn't support office romance, but we're not against it either. Just keep it low-key. Didn't I help set you two up? Before I could say a word, he shoved the file into my hands and rushed me off. The end-of-year paperwork was piling up, and Emily was already drowning in it when I entered. "I'm here," she said flatly. Her voice sounded a bit resentful, so I figured she was still in the office. "Here's the sorted file," I replied. "Just leave it for now," she said, then asked, "So how was your date with Sophia Bennett?" I said, "It was good. She's a nice person." The moment I answered, her pen slammed against the paper. "If you think she's good, then she's good," she muttered. Then she added, "Print another copy of this document." As I walked to the corner to use the printer, I heard her say coldly, "Don't be too casual when choosing a partner. You have to be selective. Don't judge only by looks." I nodded and replied, "Got it. Thanks for the advice, Miss Emily." She went on, "You need to be cautious. Some people look flawless on the outside, beautiful, glamorous, but inside, they're obsessive-compulsive, germophobic, emotionally distant, arrogant, and love pretending to be aloof. You need to watch out for that." Was she talking about Sophia Bennett? To protect Emily's pride, I said gently, "I trust your judgment. Anyone you recommend must be great." Her face darkened further, and the room fell silent. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Her assistant said, "Miss Emily, Mr. Michael Carter wants to see you." Emily's expression turned sour. "Let him in." A tall, skinny man walked in. I immediately lowered my presence, placed the file on her desk, and tried to slip out. The guy grinned and said, "Emily Watson, I missed you." Why the gloomy face? Then, without warning, he lunged in for a hug. I braced myself for a cheesy rom-com moment, but Emily swerved and let him crash into the wall with a loud bang. As he groaned, she calmly buttoned the last button on her blouse and said, "A woman who doesn't love herself is like a head of cabbage. Don't think you can turn me into cabbage." I stood frozen. What kind of tiger wolf proverb is that? I backed out of the room, gently closing the door behind me. The last thing I heard was Michael whining, "What are you doing? Can we still work together like this?" I was stunned. Did Emily Watson just sacrifice herself for the company? Could it be that when I ranted on the rooftop about how she didn't bring in revenue, it actually pierced her heart? Would she really go this far? The noon sun finally came out. My tasks were done. All that was left now was to wait for the holiday. During my lunch break, I went up to the rooftop to get some sun, but as soon as I opened the door, I spotted Emily Watson not far away. The moment she saw me, she flinched like a startled cat, her whole body trembling like it was a conditioned reflex. "You're not jumping again, are you?" she asked, half panicked. Guess I really left a mark on her that day. But I was just here for sunshine, not drama. As I walked over, I noticed her hands were full of snack spicy strips, chocolate biscuits, and even a steaming bowl of spicy hot pot. I raised an eyebrow. "Why are you eating up here?" She snorted and said, "What, you think I've got space at my desk? What if the oil from these spicy strips drips on some report? How would I explain that?" She gave me a glare and went back to gnawing on a half-eaten chicken foot. Honestly, she was like a powder keg ready to explode, and somehow I was always the match. But just because I saw her getting manhandled by some partner, does she have to take it out on me? "You and that Michael guy?" I asked. She rolled her eyes. "Why? You care about me now? You in love or something?" And just like that, silence. We both froze. Her ears turned red, and she quickly added, "I was just joking. I only asked because I was curious about your date. Didn't I say it was fine? We're even meeting again tonight." Her chicken foot dropped to the ground. Awkwardness filled the air, so I scrambled for a subject change. "Where'd you get that spicy hot pot? Smells amazing. I didn't think you ate this stuff." Thought you only touched food if it came from a Michelin-starred kitchen, where even lettuce costs $288. She answered softly, someone took me once. There was a pause, and I felt her gaze drift over my head like she wasn't seeing me but someone else. Back then, I had a lot on my mind. Didn't know what to do. One day, someone took me out for spicy hot pot. It sounded like a tragic backstory involving kanji. I couldn't help thinking, only a woman with no standards would be moved by a bowl of hot pot. So, do you go by it every time you're in a bad mood now? I asked. No, she said flatly, I'm just greedy. And rich. What problems could I possibly have? I stared at her. Right, James, you really didn't need to ask that. Greedy, huh? Who's greedier than you, greedy girl? I got up, irritated, ready to leave. But then she called after me again. Are you really going on that date tonight? Yes. I had dinner plans with Sophia Bennett, and it's at one of those fancy restaurants where even making a reservation requires a deposit. I can't back out. But when the waiter brought out a dish that cost $899 and looked like a bonsai plant with just one edible fruit, I realized that poverty had severely limited my imagination. I forced a smile and said, if you'd like more, feel free to order something else. She shook her head with a smile. It's enough. I was stunned silent. Sophia rested her chin on one hand, gazing at me. James Parker, you're really different. Just as she said that, the waiter showed up with 5 plates of plain cucumbers. Just regular, green cucumbers. They looked painfully out of place among all the luxurious dishes. We didn't order this, I said. The waiter blinked. A lady did. She. He looked around, but no one claimed it. The cucumbers were taken back. Maybe it was a mistake, Sophia murmured. Then she gave me another soft look. Anyway, since this is a blind date, let me be honest, I think you're, but before she could finish, my phone made that familiar sound of money. A red envelope. I opened the company group chat reflexively, and to my shock, Emily Watson had sent over 20 red envelopes. The famously stingy Emily Watson. I managed to snatch nearly $1,000. My joy at grabbing money sort of overshadowed the date's mood, but luckily, Sophia didn't mind. As we left, she sighed and said, I shouldn't have sent those cucumbers back. What, you're still hungry? I asked. We can order more. No. I think those cucumbers would have tasted special, she replied. I thought to myself, yeah, probably. Those $28,800 cucumbers were grown in gold-plated dirt or something. It might have had a sour taste, she added. Now I was just confused. Then I saw a familiar car in the parking lot, Emily Watson's. I brushed it off. Only 3 days left until Chinese New Year, and mentally, I had already checked out. I sat at my desk, staring blankly at my screen. After work, I just wanted to go home and hang out with my dog. My coworker next to me talked about doing dog walking gigs over the holidays to make quick cash. My parents had been nagging me to get married so much, I decided not to go home at all. No ticket, no guilt trip. Instead, I figured, why not make money during the break? Just as I had that thought, opportunity knocked. Come with me to meet my family, Emily Watson said. You'll be compensated at triple the normal rate, consider it paid overtime. Who could refuse a deal like that? But wait, I asked, I thought your family didn't pressure you to get married? She handed me bags to carry and replied coolly, it just started. After all, I'm not getting any younger. I was speechless. Emily and I are the same age. The nerve. She's out here inheriting $10 billion, while I'm checking Alipay to see if I scored 88 cents from the latest red envelope lottery. I heard the Watson family owns wind turbines in the Northwest and even hydro plants elsewhere. Whether it's windy or rainy, the money just flows in. Meanwhile, I'm hoping today's Alipay fortune says something more encouraging than eat less sugar. We arrived at her family's estate. I stood before a 4-story villa and couldn't help letting out a whistle. This was my first time meeting someone's parents, even if it was fake, and I couldn't help feeling a little nervous. But what caught me off guard was just how enthusiastic her family turned out to be. The moment I stepped into the villa, someone shouted, "Oh my God, it's James Parker. Quick, close the door. Don't let him run." I felt like Tang Monk walking into the spider cave. I was dragged inside, and immediately one of the ladies grabbed my hand and said warmly, "Look at you, tall guy. What's your zodiac sign? Have you taken the MBTI test?" "I'm an I person, I person." She clung to my hand like I was going to bolt. Honestly, even the most cold-blooded criminal would turn into an I-type in front of her. Emily Watson's family welcomed me with so much warmth, it was almost overwhelming. Her parents basically forgot they had a daughter. They were too busy doting on me. I couldn't handle their enthusiasm, so I excused myself to use the bathroom. But as I came out, I overheard them in the kitchen. Her dad said, "Our daughter finally brought a boyfriend home. It's great that it's a boy." Her mom added, "I really thought she'd bring home a girl." I was scared. That's when it hit me. Emily brought me here so her parents wouldn't think she was a lesbian. It made sense now. I was just a well-paid stand-in. Just as I was processing all this, her mom pulled me aside. "Come on, I'll show you Emily's room," she said. "Have you seen her childhood photos?" "Oh no, that's not really necessary, Auntie," I said awkwardly. She smiled. "You're her boyfriend, what's the big deal?" "We're not even dating," I screamed internally. Why am I being dragged into her private territory? But there was no escaping. She took me in. On the way, Emily had said she didn't stay there much, but the room was spotless. Her mom opened a cabinet and pulled out a fat stack of photo albums. "Come, let me show you what she looked like as a child." From baby to little girl to full-grown beauty, every photo felt like a visual timeline of a rising celebrity. I flipped through politely, until I noticed a few photos that looked oddly familiar. Her mom said, these were taken in her last year of high school. That year was tough. The company's capital chain broke, her dad fell ill, we couldn't even afford surgery. She had exams coming up, but she was a mess. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I flipped another page and stared at the girl in the photo. There was something eerily familiar about her expression. As I turned the next page, a loose photo slipped out. Her mom quickly grabbed it and clutched it to her chest like it was contraband. There was a flicker of panic in her eyes, but she forced a smile. "Oh, this is Emily and her cousin. We've been meaning to return this photo, bin looking everywhere for it." I raised an eyebrow. "Really?" From the glimpse I caught, it looked like Emily and another high school girl with pigtails, both wearing uniforms, both looking sheepishly into the camera. Her mom hugged the photo tightly and wouldn't let me look again. I tried to ask more, but she evaded every time. After dinner, I planned to ask Emily about it, but she cut in first. "What did you think of my parents?" I answered, "They're great, funny, friendly, very involved." She seemed relieved. Then she asked cautiously, "What do you think of Sophia Bennett?" I said, "She's great too. Well-educated, thoughtful, British good," I added. But Emily suddenly pulled me aside and snapped, "Don't be so shallow. You can't just go by looks. You should consider her private life, her relationship history." Her tone sounded like the gossiping aunties in my hometown, the ones who could ruin reputations in under 3 minutes. I was about to say something when her phone rang. It was Sophia Bennett. And that night, Sophia told me something that shocked me: she was in love with someone I knew. I didn't sleep at all. The next day, I was nodding off on the subway. When I finally got to the office and picked up my phone, I looked up and saw Emily Watson talking to Michael Carter. She said, "Let's end things here. I'll never forget your kindness." Then, Michael suddenly pulled her into a hug. Emily flinched and tried to push him away, but then noticed me in the distance. I panicked, like I'd been caught peeping through a window. She called out, "It's not what you think. I didn't see anything." I blurted, stepping back right into a flower bed. I lost my balance and went down, whacking the back of my head on the edge. Everything went black. The truth? It wasn't the fall that knocked me out, it was my empty stomach. Damn hypoglycemia. I could hear everything. People were lifting me onto a stretcher, someone held my hand tightly, and Emily's voice was in my ear, crying, "Woo, James Parker, wake up. Don't die, you heartless man. How could you leave me like this? Woo. You didn't even give me a chance to explain. Open your eyes and look at me. I haven't even told you how I feel. You can't die. If you die, what'll happen to me?" Her voice echoed around my skull like a headache in stereo. I could even feel her tears hitting my skin. Summoning the last of my strength, I reached up and pinched her lips shut. "Shut up," I croaked. Instantly, silence. Blissful silence. When I finally opened my eyes, I was in the hospital. A woman was hovering over me. "Are you awake? Does your head still hurt?" she asked. I stared at her. "Who are you?" Emily froze. Then, in one dramatic motion, she yanked off her professional blazer, revealing a tank top, leaned close to me, and said, "I'm your girlfriend. We're madly in love. We promise to watch the stars and the moon together." I said dryly, "Why don't you just say you're my wife while you're at it?" Emily Watson quickly realized I was joking and gave me a pitiful look as she explained, "Listen to me, there's really nothing between me and Michael Carter. Our companies collaborate, so we meet occasionally, maybe 10 times a year at most. He's abroad almost all year anyway. He always tries to hug me, but I avoid it every time. Well, except this one." She paused, then added, "It's absolutely impossible between me and him. Besides, he's already with Sophia Bennett, right?" I cut her off before she could finish. Honestly, I only meant to tease her a little, but I didn't expect she'd start spilling everything before I even pulled the trigger. She blinked, stunned. "You know." "I know," I said. "Sophia called me last night." To be honest, I could always tell Sophia wasn't interested in me. She called just to say she and Michael were together now. Apparently, she'd liked him for a while, but he was always a player flirting around without ever committing, so she purposely provoked him by going on a date with me. I didn't expect that trick to actually work. Once again, I'd become a prop in someone else's love story. I sighed and said, "Can't you introduce me to someone normal? Are you trying to sabotage me with these people on purpose?" She pouted. "Of course not." Her ears turned red, and she wiped away a tear before flashing me a shy smile. "Since you don't like anyone I've introduced you to, I guess I'll have to introduce myself. That's a pretty good deal for you, isn't it?" I looked at her and asked, "So? You've liked me for a long time, haven't you?" Emily was stunned. "You didn't hit your head so hard that you awakened psychic powers, right?" I laughed. "I wish. Actually, it's because of that photo that fell out yesterday. The one with pigtails. It wasn't a girl. It was me." She blinked in shock. "My dad passed away early, and I got bullied a lot. My mom was a pushover, so after watching some old movie, I decided I had to look tough. According to the movie's logic, if I wanted to act like a gangster, I needed pigtails. If people still bullied me, it meant the pigtails weren't long enough. That ridiculous mindset stuck with me all through high school." I nodded. "That's why you looked so familiar in that photo. During my senior year, our school hosted a group of students from another school for a speech. I used the chaos as a chance to climb over the wall and sneak out, but I got caught. The girl who caught me looked like she just escaped a mental hospital. I would have thought she was nuts if not for the school uniform. But she didn't turn me in. Instead, she helped me climb up and out. Out of gratitude, I treated her to spicy hot pot. We chatted and hit it off, and eventually I even dragged her to an internet cafe to play games. But the plan backfired. Because the visiting student giving the speech didn't show up, the teachers realized someone was missing and caught me skipping. I paused. I had no idea that girl was you. Emily nodded slowly. I didn't know either. Back then, I was overwhelmed with stress. But after we had hot pot together, I felt a little better. When I realized I wanted to find you again, it was too late. I didn't even have your name. All I had was that photo we took before parting. I handed my phone to some random passerby and had them take a picture of us. Later, I even went back to your school looking for you, waiting at the gate every night after self-study. But you had already transferred, and then college happened, and life moved on. Eventually, I joined the company. And here we are. She smiled softly. To be honest, when I saw you again in the elevator during that company meeting, I almost didn't recognize you. I mean, it was the pigtails that left the deepest impression. I was speechless. We stared at each other for a moment, her cheeks turning pink. I asked, then why'd you keep setting me up on blind dates? Because, she muttered, I wanted you to meet a bunch of weirdos first. So you'd realize how great I am. You do realize if those girls ever hear how you describe them, they'll riot, right? She just pursed her lips and said, so. What about me? What do you think of me? Emily looked at me with those bright eyes, sunlight spilling across her face like stars had settled in her gaze. But just then, the hospital door burst open. James Parker, we're here to visit, a chorus of voices shouted as our coworkers flooded into the room with flowers and fruit baskets. There was a beat of silence. Then someone gasped, we didn't see anything. The group scattered in chaos, shoes flying off, people shoving to escape. How did we walk in on something this awkward? They're not going to fire us for this, right? What were they even doing? I turned to Emily, confused, and suddenly realized she was still half-dressed in that tank top from earlier. Can you please put on my coat already? I groaned. I could already picture my name lighting up the gossip group chat like a Christmas tree. She pouted. Fine. But just as she was about to get up, she leaned close again and whispered, no. Not unless you tell me how you feel about me. I squinted. You're really pulling this kind of stunt now? She grinned. Yup. I'm being unreasonable. I looked at her, sighed, and muttered, what can I even do with you? She looked smug. And honestly, with the way she was acting now, I didn't have a choice. I could only spoil her.